You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality, built to hunt.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Union 0430 podcast. This is episode 233, and it's a great show today. And I say today because this is really weird for us because we're in the middle of the afternoon. We got the boys from Heartland Waterfowl on with us, Ronnie, Phillips, and Logan.
Phil's bored already. Look at him yawning. All right. We're not even 30 seconds into the show and the guy's yawning. What the hell?
Right? Welcome to being a ship worker.
That's how it is. And then, every once in a while you can look over and he's very lethargic. And then out of nowhere, he'll blow your mind with a question. And you're like, oh, he was paying attention the whole time. And it just, it all works. It all comes together at the end, Ronnie, buddy.
Damon,
I'm like a cat.
Cat. You're a nocturnal man. I just
lie in wait and I just pounce out of nowhere.
Boy, Philly, your audio is a mess.
What else is there?
Oh, it's a mess, buddy. You may have to go back to the old-fashioned earbuds here.
Hey, pull the cord on that soup can a little tighter, would you?
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, we've known each other for a little while now, and so as I start the show there, please know that it's all tongue in cheek. We probably should have named ourselves Shit Talking Waterfowl because that's kind of what we do. We rib each other quite a bit. And so if we weren't ribbing you, it's only because we like you.
Hey, buddy, I get it. And I love it. And the same goes for us. When I picked the name Punisher Waterfowl, it was way back when I was still in the Army. And I don't know. I think I had this mentality that I'm supposed to be like a tough brand or something. And I really don't know where Punisher Waterfowl, like why it had to be Punisher, but
yeah,
here we are 10 years later, right?
Well, we like to punish each other with our words.
That's it. And we do.
And that's the beauty about, like, part of the beauty about this and why I consider waterfowl hunting the most social of all the hunting out there, right? Because you can literally be talking shit to one another and then, okay, shut up. And then, shoot your volley and then right back in, especially if somebody misses a shot, then it's right back into cutting one another up again.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about Everett and I, like he and I, Logan can tell you, we flip so much trash to one another. I mean, and it will get borderline rude. Actually, not even borderline. It gets rude. It gets bad. And then like 2 seconds later, we're hugging each other saying, man, I love you, dude. I love you too, man.
It's funny. I love you, my son. And I'm not a proponent for underage drinking. This is not what I'm getting at. But my son's buddy sends him a message the other night. And he says, hey, Dad, I think Joe is drunk. And I'm like, why is that? And he was like, he just sent me a text. I love you, man. You're like one of the best dudes ever in the world. That was the text he sent my 16-year-old son at 9:00 at night. And I'm like, he's totally drunk.
just gas.
Let's hope that that's what it was, because if it's not, we've got some more questions to ask.
Yeah, 100%. Before we get too far into the show, just like on the introduction, this episode of the Union 0430 podcast is brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, First Light Hunting, and Ducklander Calls. And the voice of the Union 0430, Captain Jeff Coates from Pit Boss Waterfowl out of Maryland, USA. Thank you to all of you. Please head over and give those guys some love. Okay, back at it, Ronnie. Listen, boys, before I get too far into it, and I just want to take 10 seconds for me and to be able to say, Ronnie, thank you, buddy, because every couple of months, out of the blue, you will shoot me a message and you'll just be like, hey man, keep it up, keep doing what you're doing. And I gotta admit to you, there's times when I'm scratching my head wondering if I'm doing what I'm doing, is it right, or should I be doing it a different way, whatever. And then out of the blue, I'll get a message from you, buddy. So I want to personally thank you right now, face to face, for those messages, because it really do mean the world to me.
Well, you're welcome. You know, this waterfowl community that we're in, and doesn't matter where in the world you are, it is still relatively small. And I think it doesn't matter what group you're in, whether you're in the big game space or whatever profession you're in. There's bad apples in every group, but this is a special fraternity unlike any other. And I think it's important that we embrace the mentality of lifting each other up and giving affirmation, and instead of it being a big dick contest, as I sometimes, I think we may have even talked about that on the last time we were with you guys.
100%.
And so we don't subscribe to that. We're just looking for getting a piece of the pie, just like anybody else. And it's a big piece of pie. I do, though. It's genuine. It's sincere, man. I appreciate the dedication that you're putting to this and the grind, because it is a long, hard grind in the podcast space. And so kudos to you with the success that you've had, and you've got, even bigger success on the horizon. So I appreciate you saying that, but it's all about just doing the right thing.
Thanks, man. I really do appreciate it. And Phil knows, because whenever I get a message from you, I always tell the boys as well. So thanks so much, buddy. That's enough of scratching my back and stroking my.
No, keep it coming. Keep it coming.
You forgot the I love you.
I love you, man.
I love you, man. You're I love you, Ronnie. That's awesome. Logan, buddy, we started this off with me talking about this video that's up on and it just got up on your guys' YouTube channel. And it was instantaneous from the moment you stepped out of the truck to when these mosquitoes just attacked you. And it's awesome.
Like pterodactyls.
I don't want to steal too much away from anybody, because I want people to go watch it. But there's a point where one of the boys are there with you, and he's trying to explain to you, like, well, if the wind is coming from the northwest, we could set up. And you're just like, you're not listening at all. You're just, it's survival mode on mosquitoes at this time. That's it.
Yeah, that's really the only time early goose season I'll bear the mosquitoes, but I'm a little over it for the teal. The mild death march with waders on and mosquitoes for teal, I'm over that. I'm done.
Malaria.
I just turned 37, and I can officially say I'm done with that. So real old here.
Just turned 37, you old bastard.
Yeah.
I did that for you, Ronnie.
I turned 50 this year. So let's just get that out, because I know the old man jokes are coming.
Buddy, I'm only 2 years behind you, so I get it. Am I? Here's the thing about this duck hunting stuff, right? Like to me, and I remember I brought this up to Bobby Hayes one time, and Bobby laughed his ass off at me because he said I'm so over it. But I still think that my best duck hunts are when the weather is just nasty, and it makes for the best stories and the whole bit, right? And as I said, I'm 48 years old. I still like it, but my body just does not operate in those temperatures, conditions the same way as what they used to one time.
It's like molasses.
The recovery is much more difficult with everything. It's not just the hangover the next day when you're having whiskeys with your boys one night. It's with everything. Hell, Logan and I just talked about this. He called me on Monday because we had our big premiere event over the weekend. We had a charity golf tournament on Friday where we did 2 tournaments in one day. Logan and I, along with Joe Palumbo from our team and Mike Hunsucker from my Heartland Bowhunter, we actually played 36 holes of golf. So we were in both tournaments. And then to follow it up with, being at the venue to set up at 10 o'clock in the morning and then go all night with the premiere event. Like come Monday morning, I'm still worn slick. There wasn't even a lot of drinking going on, or at least there wasn't for me. And I still felt like I got hit by a Mack truck.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just can't recover like we used to.
I've got a 19-year-old daughter, and so I get her story. So she's had her first year of university under her belt now, right? And she's telling me the stories, and I really don't want to steer her down that bad path, but I would have thought in college I was if drinking was a sport, I would have been an athlete, and I mean a good one at it too.
Yeah.
And I hear her stories now, and I sort of kind of chuckle, and I'm like, man, enjoy it, because it's all downhill from here. But
my dad always said he was going back to college with me.
Oh, buddy, could you imagine though, like if your pops went back with you, just with the knowledge that he has, the partying that he would have done in his day, and the whole bit, and to put him back, I bet you it would have been legendary, because I bet you everybody would have been like, yeah, go for it.
No, I was just going to say you should meet Brad Burdick.
It would have been legendary.
It would have been epically legendary. Yeah, his dad was actually a 4-year kicker at for the University of Missouri football team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that he was around some highfalutin people.
Yes,
he did come out on the weekends. Pretty much any opportunity he had, he would make an excuse to come out. But yeah, that would have been a sight to see.
Boys, this is an exciting time of the year for you guys, because here we are. We're really getting towards the middle of the summer here, and you guys have ramped up now. You've started your planning for the fall coming, and your trips coming, and there's some stories I want to get to with regards to last year, but you have, with planning for this upcoming fall, you also just, and you alluded to it there first, Ronnie, was that you just did your premiere for this year, right? Just this past weekend. So can you tell us, first off, how we can see it in Canada, for the Canadian listeners that are here? The American listeners, well, you guys already know, but for our Canadian listeners, let us know how they can listen, and what's involved in this season of Heartland Waterfowl.
Sure. I'll give you the air times, and then I'll kind of let Logan give you the overview of what this season 12 looks like. But we air, looks like 4 days a week on Sportsman Channel Canada. These are Eastern Standard Time, so check your local listings, I guess. But with Eastern Standard Times, Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., Wednesday at 2:30 p.m., Fridays 7:30 a.m., and Saturdays, let's see, that says 12. So that would actually be Friday night at midnight, or something like that. Anyway, you're not probably watching at that time anyway. So that Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday times are the most important to, or no, wait a minute. That would be PM noon.
Yes,
sorry. So that would be Saturday, 12 p.m. noon.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
That's the main area. And the Saturday one's the waterfowl block.
Well, this is Sportsman Channel Canada, so I don't know if on Sportsman Channel Canada they have a waterfowl block, but on Saturdays on Sportsman Channel US, their Saturday afternoon block is the waterfowl block.
Okay.
We have a Sportsman Channel?
We do.
Oh,
surprise!
Yeah, we do.
I don't watch TV. I've been watching you guys strictly on YouTube for like God knows how many years now.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, because that's part of the reason why I'm reaching out to some old familiar friends like Damien, because we are trying to create a new culture, because it's crazy after 12 seasons of doing this in the last, 3 or 4 years that we've been as active on YouTube as that we have. Still, some people think that we're just a TV show. And they've cut the cord a long time ago, and they don't even know to look on YouTube for us, or they don't know that we have a podcast called Behind the Blind. They don't know that we are available on a lot of, and I don't know if this translates to the Canadians, but on what's called OTT, or over the top platforms like your Roku's or your Samsung Plus, or Apple TV. I'm probably
like IPTV.
Right.
Internet player TV. Yeah.
And then, also the MOTV app called My Outdoor TV. So there's really nowhere you can't find Heartland Waterfowl. We're not just a TV show. But anyway, with an overview of season 12, Logan, why don't you kind of tell the guys what we did this last year?
We went to North Dakota and got bit by a lot of mosquitoes.
Not some walleye.
But we really didn't have any bad trips, so all of our episodes are just based around a trip wherever we're going. So we went to North Dakota a couple times early season, and then first week of November for ducks. We went up to Canada. We go up there, every fall and spring. We were in Kansas for 3 or 4 different trips, whether that be with our good buddy Eric Champlin, Champ Camp, or with our good buddies at Tornado Alley, which you guys are familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We go down to Texas with Joe Palumbo and shoot cranes every year. We were down there doing that. And then we had a phenomenal trip down in Oklahoma with S-Bar Outfitters, southwest of Oklahoma. So what am I missing something there, Ronnie? Our home episode.
Wyoming. We were
Wyoming. We went to Wyoming. That's always a great trip. Always a fun time with those guys. And then
we tried to go back to Canada in May and got denied at the border.
Yep, and that was the last one.
And I want to get into that because
it's a hell of a story.
It is. So I listened to the story. I've heard the story when you done your episode with the gentleman from Carlson's Choke Tubes. So I heard the story there. But I want to get into it again because I want everybody else to hear about this story because it doesn't shed a good light on us. But at the end of the day, if it's not out there and it's not known, then I don't think there's any way that it can get fixed or anybody can address it, right? So I do believe that it needs to be out there and put out there and spread as far and wide as possible, to be honest with you.
Well, before we get into that, I would also like to mention too, as we were going through the run order of what our season 12 looks like for TV. Logan is right. Most of our trips, there would be a struggle here and there, but for the most part, we had a lot of really good trips. But we, much like most of our flyway experience, especially here in the Midwest United States, there was some severe fluctuation in the temperature. So it could be 50, 60 degrees one day. And before you know it, the next day is 20-degree wind chill or negative 20-degree wind chill. That's Fahrenheit, by the way, for the Canadians.
Freedom units.
Right. And then everything's locked up. And so there was actually, if I remember, at least 2, maybe 3, 2 for sure trips that we were I guess 3 would be the Canada trip. So there were 3 episodes that we were supposed to film this year because every trip is typically an episode. Mm-hmm. And our episodes were cut short because there were 2 trips that we couldn't do because it was either too warm or too cold. And then we couldn't cross the border in Canada. So we have 9 original episodes this year, which if you do the math, it should have been, 3 more than that.
Right.
But yeah, Canada was, I guess we'll just dive into it. Is that where you want to go next?
Yeah.
All right. So here we go.
There's going to be a lot of conversation that comes off of this. So, roll with it, Ronnie.
Well, it's a long story, so I'll do my very best to give you the abbreviated version, and Logan, feel free to chime in if I'm missing anything here. But as Logan alluded to, we typically try to go back to Saskatchewan, somewhere there in the first week of May, second week of May to finish up the season with the reverse migration of snows. And we have had over the last 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know exactly how long, had a relationship with, I don't know if it's Tourism Saskatchewan or Saskatchewan Tourism. Yep. You talked about the light not being shined very nice on Canada. Let me right off the bat be crystal clear that we absolutely emphatically love Saskatchewan tourism. Daryl, if you're watching, thank you for everything you've ever done for us, you and your team. We hope that partnership will continue for many, many years to come. But here's how the story goes. So we typically try to get to the border around midnight Central Time, and that's by design because there's less traffic. We want to be able to get in and get out and get on down the road so that we can get to our camp in time to drop trailers and go out and scout.
Plus, driving at night in Canada on the 2-lane roads to get away from the semis and everything there's just way less traffic, especially getting through.
Hammer down.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
Watch out for moose and hammer down.
That's it. Yeah. So we typically get what I think is called, Logan, a letter of compliance from Saskatchewan Tourism. Is that what it is?
Basically we have to fill out like an application with them before every trip. And it basically just says where you're going, who you're going with, send your passports in, how long you're going to be there, what are the job duties of each person, and just basic information. And basically the way I've always understand it is, Saskatchewan Tourism goes ahead and vets all the people that are coming, which they're the same people every year. So that's really not a big deal. We've been coming across the border every fall and spring for God knows how long now. But essentially that paperwork gets then sent to the border. And then also we have a copy of it that's in our vehicles too, that we present to the border agent at the border window. And then obviously once they see all that, then you have to go inside and they have to stamp your paperwork and, do their background check, which us getting turned away was crazy enough as is, and I'll let Ronnie jump back in there, but they've seen that we've been here, for, I can't tell you how long, the same exact week, twice a week every year. And it's like, can't you use a little common sense on this?
Right.
You're dealing with the government. Nope.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so when the border agents, and I'm just going to speak transparently here, I'm not trying to throw shade at the country because obviously we love you guys. We love Canada. We love Saskatchewan tourism. It's the Mecca. It's a waterfowl hunter's dream. There's a reason why we come back. And for me personally, and I think I can say this for Logan and many of the other guys on the team that come on that trip, it's our favorite trip of the year. Mm-hmm. They're never warm and fuzzy. The border agents have never been warm and fuzzy, but I've never seen
them miserable pricks.
They've never been this cold this year, until this year. So when we go inside, typically in years past, they would ask us because we're the only ones in the room that say, are you guys all together? Yeah. Well, then just everybody come up at once and give me your passports. Well, we just kind of assumed that would be the protocol this time. And nope, this particular woman, which you just kind of knew, and I'm profiling bigger than hell right now, but you looked at her and you're like, you are definitely a liberal. Like I just could feel the negative energy just oozing into the room. So we all started walking up there and it's all of a sudden, nope, one at a time. So Logan goes up first, gives the passport, that letter of compliance. And she's like, well, what is this? And so Logan explains what this letter from Saskatchewan Tourism is. And she's like, well, why do I need this? And how do I know that you guys didn't just make this? And just like being a bee. Okay. I'll just say it. Oh. And so she asked Logan, and I guess I should probably, backtrack a little bit and explain what that partnership looks like. We do get paid by Saskatchewan Tourism to provide photography assets. We tag them in social media content and they give us, and it's not even a lot of money. It's a little bit that helps cover our overhead. I mean, it doesn't even cover the complete total cost of what it cost us to go up there.
Puts a couple tanks of gas in the truck.
Exactly.
Pays for a couple nights of lodging, essentially. Right. And they don't really ask for a whole lot from us, but the photography assets is pretty valuable to them when it comes to brochures and digital marketing for them.
Right. So once that she figured out that we were getting paid, she says, well, do you have your employer compliance number, otherwise known as an A number? And we're like, what are you talking about? And she goes, well, if you're getting paid, then you don't have the credentials to get in the country. You're going to have to go back. And Logan turns around and looks at me and goes, Ronnie, what do we do? And then I walk up there and I almost felt like I was in a courtroom. Like, ma'am, right. I approached the bench. And so I get up there and I said, with all due respect, ma'am, the agent that's sitting 20 feet away from us right now with his arms crossed, looking right at me as I'm speaking, let us in October with the same exact process. And he just sat there. Like, screw you guys.
Like, I am not going to. You can't talk to him. Talk to me. I'm like,
really? Yeah.
Yep. And then we wanted to try to get compliant, like just figure out what we needed to do. And we were just asking generic questions. And I was like, look, we've been here every fall and spring. I know you can see this. This is the exact same paperwork we've had for the last 8 years. And I was like, so what do we need to do different? This, that, and another. And she's like, you can find it on the internet.
Oh,
I was
boy.
like, oh, so this is how this is going to go.
So we basically spent an hour at the border to then be told that we needed to give them all of our passports so that they can put all of us in the system for attempting to enter the country illegally, or at least that's how I perceived it. We flipped around. We go back through the U.S.
Border crossing.
Crossing and start, they're doing their job. They're not interrogating, but they're asking a lot of questions. And I was like, look, dude, I don't know. Like, I feel so mind effed right now with all what I just dealt with. And he was like, oh no, you're good, man. You're home now. You're safe. He goes, look, the bottom line is that because of the political climate, those agents over there, especially at this time of night, are looking for every reason possible to turn away people at the border. And, this story isn't applicable to any other do-it-yourself waterfowl hunter who's looking to go to Saskatchewan. But let me just tell you, we also have friends that have gone up there to hunt just for the fun of hunting, not getting paid. And they're there 3-4 hours because the agents are fine combing through their trailer, their trucks, just trying to find anything possible to turn away an American. And
any excuse.
Yeah, I know. I mean, literally, I think 5 of the 6 people I talked to that went up this spring was searched, and they have never been searched before.
It's so, without cutting you off, so I travel back and forth all the time. The border is literally 45 minutes from my house to upstate New York. So I'm back and forth across the border all the time. If you have your passport and where you're going, what you're doing when you cross over to the American side, it's very simple. Where are you going? What are you going for? How long you plan you're going to be there? This, and this. All right, have a good day. Bang, gone. Nothing to it. If I speak to a border agent longer than 30 seconds crossing into the States, I'd be surprised. The Canadian border guards, they have always been frosty, always. And I've found that, and I'm Canadian coming back into Canada, I find that they're frosty. And my theory is, and take it for what it's worth, is that they honestly don't know what to do. It's like there's a massive book of regulations, and it's impossible for them to know everything. So they just treat everybody like it's the first time. You are the very first time anybody has ever crossed with this particular situation, and it's horrible. I host an event every year at the Toronto Sportsman Show, and I bring in American companies that come in and they set up vendor booths. This past year, because of the political climate, I got raked over the coals by the Canadian government on bringing product into Canada. So I was bringing real geese decoys into Canada, and then when the owner of Real Geese, he got turned away at the border because of pretty much very close to the same thing, because he was coming into Canada to attend a trade show. He didn't have a work visa and all of that, which wasn't required in his instance. But yet they just don't know, so they just attack you with everything. And what are you can do? You can argue as much as you want, but they're the ones that's saying yay or nay on if you can get into the country.
This female border agent made it sound, as Logan alluded to, like it was so simple that you could just go online and you could apply for your, A number, and then you could be back on your way. And again, we get there at midnight. So now by the time we've left, it's 1:00. We just go right on the other side of the border to a gas station to try to search the internet to figure out if this is something we can turn around quickly. We probably spent at least 30 minutes there before we said, we're not going to get this figured out. We're going to go back an hour and 15 minutes to the south to Grand Forks, North Dakota, spend the night. So by the time we get there, it's like 3:00 in the morning. We wake up, reach out to Saskatchewan Tourism to explain what has happened. Again, that organization, phenomenal. They jump on it right away. They text us back, I want to say 11 o'clock Central Time that morning to say, go back to the border, go eat lunch. And by the time you're done eating lunch, we should have this figured out. So we do. We go get done eating. We go sit in our trucks until 5:15 that evening to get a text message from them that says, you need to go back to Grand Forks again, spend the night again. We hope to have this figured out by the morning. So we do. We go out to dinner. Logan gets a text from Daryl. That's Daryl from Saskatchewan Tourism that says, in my, 20 years that he'd been working there?
30 plus years. Yeah.
30 plus years. He's never seen this before. He ran this up through their VP, their CEO, and a Canadian immigration lawyer. And all three of those collectively as a team cannot figure out a way to turn this around in a timely manner. Sorry, guys, you're going to have to go back home. Fortunately, we've got a couple buddies that live up in North Dakota that we can hang out with for a couple of days and do some walleye fishing. So it didn't feel like a complete bust of a trip.
Our first episode, actually.
What?
Our first episode, just airs this week. And Daniel was talking about it earlier. That's where we went after we got turned around at the border. Cody was like, hey, I'm going to be out at the lake this weekend. You guys want to come and do some fishing? And we're like, yeah, we got nothing else to do.
Right. So that just goes to show
there's no such thing as a bad trip, but after hearing this, I beg to differ.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the tourism department, we are not the only producers the tourism department works with, and they didn't even know. They had never ran across this before. So who knows? I'm hoping, as I've said in previous podcasts, that I'm hoping that cooler heads will prevail by the time October rolls around. But, it makes you wonder, like, what kind of headache are we going to, even if cooler heads prevail, what kind of headaches are we going to run into when we go back to the border and our names are flagged into the system? And, and you hear the rumblings of how all of this tariff war is, pissing off the locals and the people in the rural community, and how possibly landowners up there might be treating us Americans when we come up there to try to get permission on land. I don't know. I mean, that's all gossip, really. I've not had any conversations with any landowners up there about that, but hopefully with the runway that we have between now and October with our association with Saskatchewan Tourism, we will figure out the process to come back to the country.
And I think you'll be okay, as well as with the landowners, right? Like, I spent last fall in Saskatchewan guiding, and the biggest thing that I had heard from the landowners was, they didn't have a problem with U.S. people coming up and hunting. It was the illegal outfitters that they really had the problem with, right? And that was and I think that's where Tourism Saskatchewan and they're trying to just make it more on the up and up, right? And dealing with guys like you, it solidifies their approach to this illegal outfitting, right? So I don't think you're going to have a problem, but I wouldn't have thought you would have got turned away at the border either, but here we are.
No, it sucked, but go ahead, Logan.
I was going to say, Phil, you said there's no such thing as a bad trip. So we go to North Dakota to Cody's place, and he's like, hey, I got a lake just north of here I want to take the boat to. The wind's supposed to blow pretty hard tomorrow, but it's not supposed to pick up until like noon. So but it was going to be like ripping like 30, 40 mile an hour. And he's like, so we'll have to get up.
Yeah, it's just a little walleye chop.
It's a little more than that. But we were sitting there, and so we woke up the next morning. We drive up to the boat ramp, and it's already just ripping 30, 40.
Like mock Jesus.
Yeah, and Cody's like, we can make it to the other side, and it'll be all right, but then get out of the wind. But I don't know that we're getting this boat back on the trailer. I mean, literally, there was a guy pulling out, and his boat literally his trailer was fully in the water, and then the wave would come out, and it would be completely out of the water. Wow. So we're like, damn, I guess we're not going fishing either. But Cody was like, hey, I got this spot off the road down south. We can, get down there real quick. And he goes, I think it might be pretty good. So we park the trucks in the middle of this road, and we have to move them about a mile and walk back. Well, me and Cody are unpacking the truck. Ronnie gets his rod out, grabs a minnow out of the bait bucket, casts it out like 10 feet. And literally the thing barely hits the water, and he has a 25.5-inch walleye.
Wow.
And Cody looks at me and goes, "This is going to work."
Yeah, you think so?
And we proceeded. We smashed them that morning. And to be honest with you, a lot of them were really, really good fish. So we threw a ton of them back because they were 25 plus inches. And we smashed them, and we kept, I don't know, maybe 10 that morning. And we're like, well, let's give it a try again in the evening. We went back that evening, and we caught so many more. It was so much fun.
Wow.
So much fun.
Hey, were you at work? Were you at home?
Yeah.
It's still a win.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're right there.
That's a win.
1,000%.
That's a win. Boys, I wanted to talk to you.
Bad day hunting beats a good day at work, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, Philly. Boys, I wanted to ask you this because it's a dream of so many waterfowlers in North America, and you guys get to do it. You do it every year, which I call it following the migration. I'm sure that's what other people call it too. Where you start in Canada and you start making your way down south. And I guess I'm looking for you guys just to give us an idea of the logistics and the planning that takes, because it's not an easy feat to accomplish. I'm sure of it. I've never done it. I've never looked into it. I want to do it someday, but can you just talk us through the logistics of trying to pull that off? And because for two things, and this is long-winded, I know, but for two things, you guys got to get content for a show. So right off the bat, logistically, you're already the cards are stacked against you. So can you walk us through the whole thing from Saskatchewan to where you end?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's kind of second nature now.
Yeah.
Just this is, with the pilot episode and, a year going to Canada before that, like you're talking 13, 14 years now. So, I would say that we have trips that we like to take at certain times. And it's not always the right time.
Right.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And that's the hardest part. It's, if we could pick up, let's say 15 years ago, when we didn't have kids and wives, if we could pick up and go, we would pick up and go. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We know a cold front's coming in, hunting's going to be good. It's going to snow its ass off in North Dakota. All right, let's pick up and go. Right. We'll burn a week of our 2-week license there. But now, full-time jobs, kids at home, wife and everything. So we plan these trips. Ronnie, I got to get on that. I got to get the schedule out to you guys. I don't even have everything 100% finalized yet for this upcoming season. But basically I just send a schedule out to the guys, and say, hey, here's the openings. You guys pick what trips you guys want to come on. Here's where we need guys. Here's where we don't need guys, and kind of just follow suit that way. But we're trying to mix a few things up and hit a couple different spots. Ronnie's got a good buddy down in Mexico we're trying to go hunt with, and Argentina's been on the bucket list. We'd like to get back up to Alaska and shoot some king eiders. So there's a lot of different things that we're still trying to do, but generally we're in the same vicinity within a couple weeks of each other. And basically once we get through early season, and then get through October with Canada, and then, North Dakota, whether that be late October, early November, then basically Kansas is like our second home from there on out pretty much. Obviously we do a late season trip up to Wyoming. We've gone to Colorado late season in the past. And we really do like the late season goose hunts, but for the most part after that, we're hanging around Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and then kind of working our way down. Texas, we're looking at doing a couple different things in Texas this year. We're looking at doing a couple different things in Kansas and Oklahoma as well. So, but generally, we want to be Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Nebraska. I mean, if December, January, like that's our Mecca, right? That's what we live for. This is where we grew up hunting, and we like to spend as much time in that area as we can. And to be honest with you, the hunting's good. And there's still some places that you can kind of get off the beaten path. And, we like to, scout and put in the work in and knock on people's doors and try to hunt on the X. And that's honestly what we really strive for. So I would say, to be honest with you, if we're doing anything different, it's not so much of a timing thing. It's just, where are we going to go? Are we going to try a new area? Are we going to kind of venture out a little bit? And maybe, it's kind of a risky thing to do. You go to a new area, you don't really know, you're spending time. You don't know if you're going to be able to get on permission. You don't know if there's other outfitters in the area that have all the land locked up. I mean, hell, maybe it's, one or two farmers that, have access to all of it. And, if you get lucky and get in with one of them, you can hunt. And maybe, I remember one part, this was 4 or 5 years ago, but we drove around Texas for 5 days and got turned down on everything we possibly could, except for one spot. And, but it was a learning experience,
Right.
I would love to go back around that area again, and spend more time, but it's kind of hard to when, every door you knock on is a no.
And you've only got so much time, right? You've only got so
Yep.
much time off. So
we like to stick with what we know.
That makes sense.
But the unfortunate part with that is that we share what we do with the world, right? And over time, people have figured out where those places are. Not saying that they're the best places in the world, but at some point in time, we like to call those places ours. like we have run a lot of the same areas up in Canada and in North Dakota for a long time now, and maybe the hardest thing about it is there's a lot of people that know where we go, and there's a lot of people there because they know that we're there.
And we're naturally not telling people other than what province we're in, where we're at.
Yeah.
It's crazy because you'll be in camp in, at a hotel or whatever in Saskatchewan, and somebody will recognize us from the States. I mean, guys from New York, I remember a handful of years ago, they walked up and said, "Oh, I love your guys' show and watch all the time." And you're getting that information. It makes you feel good. And then you go, huh,
wait a second.
let me connect the dots here a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and look, I say that humbly. We're not trying to suggest that the influx of Americans coming to that particular spot in Saskatchewan is solely because of us. But, like he says, we are sharing it with the world. And if you look hard enough, you can kind of figure some things out.
Well,
I remember 2 years ago, the first year everybody could get back in after COVID.
Yeah.
And Saskatchewan was a zoo. I mean, an absolute zoo. Like the last week of September, first week of October was an absolute zoo in Saskatchewan. And I remember we had, I bet, like 25 or 30 messages of people. "Hey, I just saw your truck and trailer." And our truck and trailers don't have anything on it. I mean, it's not like they're wrapped or anything. It's like, okay, well, everyone knows where we're at this point in time. Guess we'll just hang out with everybody.
And if people think you're being facetious when you say that, I'll give you my example. So last year I guided in Saskatchewan, but I started the season as like a day-to-day operations guy for an outfit in Alberta. And I was doing, just quick reels on Instagram and stuff. And I was like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing today at Ungaros and whatever." Right. And, the owner of the lodge said to me, he said, "Hey, listen, when you're doing your videos and stuff, and when you're out and about, like, don't let on to where you are." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And he was like, "Because people will be watching." And I said to him, I was like, "Claudio, buddy, nobody is watching me. Like, I'm just a small brand."
They are.
And he told me, he said,
Internet scouting.
He said, "Oh, yes, they are. And you just wait. You just wait." And my Instagram followers, not that it's a huge number, but it was a huge number for me. And it was growing by 20, 30 people a day. And that's not huge in the grand scheme of things, but it was huge for me. And 20, 30 new followers a day. And that was all they were following me for, because they were hoping to find out where we were hunting.
They were doing recon, man.
Yeah. And then when I went to
internet Internet scouting.
Yeah, the old cyber scouters.
Yeah, man. And then when I went to Saskatchewan, I literally turned everything off. I just and where I was at, he was like, yeah, I don't post nothing until the season's over. He said, you can't post anything because fellas are literally waiting for you to say the snows are in. The snows are here, and then just watch the influx just roll in because the snows are there. It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
Every cousin and their brother in the rental trucks driving the roads.
Well, and you know, so in Saskatchewan, it's hard, and I'm sure you guys know it as well. Like in Alberta, a farmer may own 2 sections of land, and then there may be another farmer in between his next one or whatever. Saskatchewan, one farmer could own as far as you could see. So if you get a no from one guy and he owns everything, then you're screwed. You're not hunting in that area, right? So it's really different. Ronnie, this one, because I really want to make a reel out of this, and this one's going to be good. So Jay and Buck from Dirty Duck Coffee. So I know Jay, I know Buck. I've met them. I've hung out with them. I love their coffee. I love their products. I love everything about them. And when we had met up in Baton Rouge last summer, they had mentioned you. And I was like, oh, you know Ronnie? And then they were like, oh, we know Ronnie. And I was like, wait, because I'm always, and I've said this a million times on the show, and you talked about it where you said this community, this waterfowl community is small in the grand scheme of things. And it always blows my mind when I meet up with somebody and they know somebody that I know. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, man, this world is, it's just so small. And you know, Jay and Buck are 2 pretty funny dudes and stuff. And I honestly can't remember what Buck had said, but he had said something along the lines of, you should ask Ronnie about the very first time we had hunted. And he had talked about it, but I can't remember the story, honestly. So I want to hand it over, and please throw some shade onto Buck and Jay. Like, make a funny story so that I can make a reel out of this and make it go viral or something.
Wow. Well, I don't know that I can live up to that expectation, but I can tell you the story. My background was working in radio, and at the time, Buck was dating a girl that worked in the sales department at the radio station. So that's how we met.
Okay.
I grew up. I didn't grow up waterfowl hunting. That came into my life much later. In a small town in Northeast Kansas where I grew up, it was predominantly whitetail and in upland bird hunting. So there was, when I was a kid, there was a ton of ringneck pheasants and bobwhite quail. And my grandfather worked in, as a guide in South Carolina for upland birds and did bird dog trials. And so that was my jam. And I was right there. And I mean, there were people from all of neighboring states that would come to our county to upland hunt. All the hotels would be sold out during opening weekend. So I was in a target rich environment for upland birds. So when Buck and I had met, and he invited for me to come out on a family trip out to a small town just west by an hour of where I grew up to go, pheasant hunting, opening weekend. And we did that for a couple days, and then a big front came through, and of course, this was back in my single days, and we were drinking whiskey at night and outside smoking cigarettes and drinking whiskey, and or at least I was smoking cigarettes. I don't know if anybody else was, but there was a bunch of snow geese that were migrating overhead, and he was like, "Man," I remember him saying, "I don't know, can I use colorful language on this podcast?"
Absolutely, you can.
He said, "Fuck these pheasants. Let's go shoot ducks." I'm like, "Okay, let's go." So we got up the next day, decided not to hunt, and we drove through a blizzard. He's white knuckling all the way there, just pushing the limit to an uncomfortable point for me as a passenger. Like, it's just a duck. Let's not kill ourselves for this. He was like, you don't understand. And I did not understand, because as soon as we got back and we got unloaded, and I was even at the point where, like, man, I got to probably beat the storm and get back to Kansas City, because where his place is roughly an hour and a half north of Kansas City.
Okay.
So he was like, I don't give a shit what you have to do tomorrow. you're going duck hunting. So we did. And you hear the old saying of the black cloud, meaning just the sky filled with birds. And that's what we saw. I mean, there was every species of duck that came in, and we shot our limit of ducks, and it was pintails and widgeon and mallards and teal. And it was the hunt that one hook, line, and sinker got me into waterfowl hunting. And so we did that with them for a handful of years. And I decided, this is, I think I want to do this for a career. I felt like I'd kind of hit my ceiling in the radio industry, and wanted to figure out how I could parlay my experience in radio broadcasting and apply it to waterfowl hunting or in creating some show. And this was even before I met the guys from Heartland Bowhunter and Logan. And I remember Buck telling me, it was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make your passion your job. And I didn't listen. And then through the process of networking and me trying to build a business plan to create an outdoor TV concept, I met Logan and the guys from Heartland Bowhunter, and then the rest is kind of history. But what's funny about that story is now Buck has made his passion his job with coming out with Dirty Duck Coffee. So they're now a sponsor of ours, but I always try to make it crystal clear to anybody that I talk to that the guys from Dirty Duck Coffee, in addition to Paul, who Logan referenced earlier, who's got the lodge down in Mexico, I think it's called Hacienda El Dorado Outfitters. I think that's right. Or El Dorado Hacienda Outfitters. Those three were solely responsible for getting me into waterfowl hunting. So I don't know if it's a viral moment, but that's the story of how Buck and I first hunted together.
I bet you drank a lot of whiskey and smoked a lot of cigarettes at the Dirty Duck after that hunt.
There's been a lot of good parties at the old Dirty Duck in Mountain City, Missouri.
I can just imagine.
Hacking darts and breaking hearts.
That's right.
Logan, Ron, when you talk about this whole, you're trying. So, Ronnie, you reached out to me, and you've reached out to other people that do podcasts and that can help you spread the word about Heartland Waterfowl and Heartland Bowhunter and the whole, across the whole spectrum and stuff like that. I always like to tie in and bring some exposure, I guess, to the hard work that it takes in order to make something like this successful. And I don't need you to go into the financials, because the only thing I'll say is that a lot of people think that Heartland Waterfowl, not Punisher Waterfowl, but all these brands that are operating within the waterfowl space, they all think that everybody is just oozing money, right? Because you have a TV show or you have a product that's being produced and sold and stuff like that. And it's not the case. Like you really do have to absolutely be crazy and love what it is you do in order to do it, because it's not because of the riches that like, girls aren't throwing themselves at you. There's not big, back in
not the pretty ones anyway.
Like before the wives and kids, there wasn't big Coke parties happening in green rooms or anything like that. You know what I mean?
I had more of that in the radio days than I did in the waterfowl. I had to take out a loan just to buy this hat. What do you mean?
No, but you know what I mean? Like I don't want to ever discourage somebody from starting a brand. I want more brands out there. I want more people hunting. I want more videos on the internet of hunting and stuff like that. But I want it done. I want to see it that it's done right. It's done humanely, respectfully, the whole bit. I think that the majority of a lot of these new brands that come out, I don't think they fully understand just how hard the work is and what's required, and that's why they don't last. Not because of their product. Their product is amazing. It's just they haven't really seen how hard it is to make it succeed. And I guess what I'm looking from you guys is, do you have any advice to anybody that's starting a brand or just they think it's so far-fetched that it could work, and they're having second thoughts?
Yeah, call Ronnie Phillips as your consultant. I'm very affordable. 913-940. I'm kidding. No, he asked you first, Logan. No, go ahead. I was just trying to crack a joke.
I mean, I was just going to say, if you're passionate about it and it's truly what you want to do, then you'll put the effort into it and make it happen. And that might happen, in the first week. It might take 5 years,
Yeah.
Everyone's different, but yeah, I mean, you got to keep grinding. It's hard on a daily basis, especially when you got a full-time job and,
That's right.
So a lot of this, it doesn't bring any income in, right? So it's a lot of time and time is money. But if you're truly passionate about it and, that's ultimately what you want to do in life, and whether you have a product or a brand or, even an apparel company, how many of these apparel companies you see, going up there, you just gotta keep networking, keep grinding away and keep growing your brand any way you feel possible. So.
The only thing that I would say to expand on that is you can't quantify the value that we had by being a product and an extension of Heartland Bowhunter. They were already in the industry. They had done it for roughly, 5, 6, 7 years before we got involved. And so we got that tutelage from them. We had a standard to live up to. Heartland Bowhunter, and granted I'm biased, but they created a new standard for outdoor content. There was more of an authentic, raw storyboard that was told creatively through the lens of the camera. There was very, very top-notch quality cinematic value to what they were doing, to where spouses that didn't give a damn about hunting would want to sit down and watch with their husbands or boyfriends because it was, they could appreciate the storyline, or they just appreciated the beauty of the cinematography. And so because we had the tutelage, because we were, like anybody else, we didn't know what we didn't know. But we had that tutelage from them. We were guided in the right direction. In fact, we still say to this day, I mean, it was a year and a half of filming before we even had a TV show. We were, Logan and I hated each other's guts at the beginning. 2 type A personalities butting heads, trying to figure out how do we play to each other's strengths. And now he's one of my best friends. And, I think the success that we have had is for a multitude of reasons, one of which was just that we kept grinding and we just kept throwing crap at the wall to see what would stick. And then if it didn't, we would just sling it again and figure out what would work and keep going. I love using that metaphor, but we had those Heartland Bowhunter guys who had been there. They had done it. They had the connections with the people at the network. And, and then like anything with repetition, you do it enough times, then you just kind of figure out the little tricks and different ways to make it get better.
Yeah. And the filming side, obviously it took and that question related to us specifically. I mean, it took us some time, obviously, to figure that out, and we grinded that out and, critiqued each other a lot along those lines. But as a whole, like Ronnie said, like we had an outline from Heartland Bowhunter to follow, right? We had, hey, if you do A, B, C, D, and you do it how we're doing, then you guys will be successful.
Well, and the other side of that too, that I want to give credit to, was Logan's dad, Brad, and then Sean Luchtel's dad, Rex, who are also part owners of Heartland Waterfowl and Heartland Bowhunter. They had the business savvy. They were older than us. They owned businesses. And so they kind of help us structure a model or a business plan that would allow us to have the business self-sufficient financially in its first year. Wow. And so neither one of us made any money in the first couple of years that we did this. And if we did, it was pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
We certainly weren't making a living doing it. We're barely making a living doing it now, but obviously making enough to validate our time to continue doing it. But again, it just goes back to having, that's why it would be harder for anybody who's just jumping in if they didn't have somebody to lean on or have any kind of guidance. I can see where they would meet some crossroads. And if they ended up not being self-sufficient in their first couple of years, well, then you're really scratching your head. Like, why do I keep doing this? And, you start losing the vision of why you got involved in it in the first place.
Logan, you had said, you got to keep networking, right? And granted, Ronnie, not everybody is going to have the opportunity to partner up or pair up with an established brand that can teach you everything right there. But Logan, if you're networking with the right people, and I use this term all the time that my dad used to say to me, and he used to say, if you surround yourself with good people, good things is going to happen. Good things are going to happen. That was my Newfie English coming out there. But if you're networking and if you're in the right circles, you will get the help that you need, and you'll get the direction, and will help point you, because I honestly do believe that as a whole in this waterfowl community, and even the hunting community as a whole, we all want to help one another. It's how you approach getting the help, I think, is the key, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because most people are looking for a handout, right? They want something, and then they don't, and it's not about that. It's about, yeah, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You know, what kind of value can you bring to this? And you got to be, and just don't be a douchebag, really, is what it comes down to. And
don't be a cyber scouter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, Logan, that's right. Like, you can't take there's no way to winning with a shortcut. You just got to put the time in, and sure, you can get somebody that can help you along the way, but you still got to put the work in. They're only going to point you in the direction. They're not going to do it for you.
Yep. You're not going to find where the ducks are at unless you keep driving.
That's right.
It's the people that are the most successful, whether that be an outfitter, hunting wise, right? They're the ones that put the time and the effort in. They're the ones that are sitting in the truck, driving around nonstop, getting the lay of the land and figuring out what the birds are doing.
Absolutely.
And that can carry over into a business, or, even life in general.
When you go back to the word networking, I was just going to say, what that encompasses. And I think that our relationship, Damon, it is like, we met you through Bobby Hayes a couple of years ago, I want to say. And then, you and I stay in contact through, it might be every 2, 3, maybe even 4 months that we'll shoot each other a message. And you might be saying, hey, Ronnie, how are things going? I saw this. Or me just saying, hey, podcast is doing good, keep going. That's a product of massaging a relationship. That's a product of networking, right? If I only came to you because I want to be on your podcast, you're going to be like, well, this guy's just using me.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. And if more people embrace the relationship value to what networking is really supposed to be, they will find more success in what they're ultimately trying to achieve.
Yeah, I've said this, and our buddy Craig, who's usually on the show with us, he joined the podcast. He's only been on for about a year, and he says it all the time, is that all of the people that he's watched on social media and on YouTube and the videos from way back in the day, it blows his mind every time that he gets to meet somebody on the podcast of how genuine everybody is that comment. Everybody just genuinely wants to help everybody. It's the approach, like I said, on how you go about building that relationship, right? But he speaks to it all the time. So fellas,
here's the other thing. I'll cut you off real quick. This is another lesson that if you can understand the networking and the value of relationship within networking, you can apply that to getting permission.
Yeah.
I have relationship with, we both do. We have relationships with farmers all across this country and beyond. I've relationships with landowners in Saskatchewan, and we'll text each other, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hey, how's the crops looking? We genuinely have a friendship, and it's not me just calling them or talking to them whenever I want permission to hunt on their land. Yeah. And so it goes beyond just business. Like Logan says, it's a product of successful life.
100%. Boys, we're at that hour mark, and I've really ate up a lot of your time on this podcast, asking for advice and tricks and tools and stuff. And I did want to give you some, please take some time and talk about this upcoming season and to get more from the audience like you need in order for it to grow and be seen by more people. Take some time and talk about this upcoming season and build it up so that we can have more people following you on social media, on YouTube, and on the channel.
Well, I appreciate that. The message that's important to me, and the reason that I reached out to you and wanting to come back on, was just I'm really wanting to try to change the culture that Heartland Waterfowl is more than just a TV show. There's really, there's been so many people that have come up to us, whether they be potential sponsors or just avid waterfowl hunters, to be like, yeah, I don't watch your show because I don't have cable TV. Well, that's okay. because that's not the only place that you can find us. You can find us on YouTube. Like I was talking about the OTT platforms, what is known as over the top, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, Roku, Samsung TV Plus, Vizio, LG channels, Plex, Tubi, the My Outdoor TV app. Of course, we're really making a strong push towards the things that we're doing on YouTube. We're really wanting to get more people out there to understand that we've got content available there. And it's not just the fact that we've got content there. It's the time manner of which we are turning around that content. So if Logan and I are filming early season geese in North Dakota come August, well, we're turning around a Heartland style, high standard polished production within 7 to 10 days, if not sooner. And we're always striving to turn it around as quickly as possible so that you feel like that you are getting semi real time content as it's happening. In addition to that is just getting out there that like, hey, we just came out a few years ago with this Behind the Blind podcast. We record that from camp. So while we are in North Dakota on that early season Canada goose hunt, at the end of the night before we eat dinner or hit the sack, like, hey, we're talking about what we did that day, some of the things that we learned, the good, the bad, the ugly. And we're trying to turn that around within 24 hours, pending if we have good internet service and we can upload it. But even then, as soon as we get back, we're turning around those episodes. And so there's really no place that you can't find Heartland Waterfowl. So you can always go to heartlandwaterfowl.com to find that information, or you can, find us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if I'm leaving anything else there. Those are the big three really, but there's distribution content either in short or YouTube shorts. Obviously we've got content on there as well. So there's really not a popular platform out there that we aren't active on.
Right.
But as far as the season goes, like this season was, it was a fun season. We had some hunts that were challenging. Although we were successful, a lot of the trips, we had to put in a lot of work. We had to put on extra miles. We had to, as Logan likes to say, get off the beaten path and go into an area of which we didn't think, people knew about or there wouldn't be any competition for. And so, but again, it shows you that, put in the work and you will be rewarded. And although we didn't get to go on as many trips, we got 3 trips that were canceled due to one thing or another. We had some fun, and the other thing about this year's production that we really tried to showcase more was that camaraderie. We tried to set up more in the blind cameras. We hunt out of, or at least we try, depending on what the situation calls for, but we try to hunt out of panel blinds. And so that gives us more flexibility to set up more cameras, more stationary cameras, to where it captures more of that ribbing and that shit talking back and forth, and just that brotherhood and that camaraderie and the audio that you get in between the volleys. And so you get a more realistic feel of what we try to showcase, which again is a part of that Heartland Bowhunter model, that it's not just some bad rock and roll music and a bunch of kill shots. We are trying to tell a raw, authentic story when we show, because look, we're trying to resonate with that blue collar waterfowl hunter who doesn't have the luxury that we have. That person who's got a scout on his way to work in the morning, on his way home from work. And then to find that one perfect day to where he and his buddies can all get together with all their gear to have that one great hunt, and they can share that brotherhood with one another. That's the person, and they have to put in the work. And so even when we hunt with outfitters, the preliminary discussion or the prerequisite is that, we're going to come there and we're going to hunt with you and we're going to promote your outfit and your lodge, but we have to do the work. We have to be included in the scouting. We have to be included in creating the hide. We have to work in collaboration as a team, the outfitter and us as content creators, to make sure that we're not only killing birds, but we're killing them on camera in the best way possible, because if it ain't on camera, it kind of defeats the purpose of why we're there.
Right. I think, one of your, you've got many successes and many reasons why you guys are successful, but I do believe that the majority, they can pick out what's fake and they can pick out what's not authentic, and they can look at it. So when you're talking about this, you're trying to appeal to the blue collar guy. Like, that's the guy that may be only able to get out once a week, because at best, right? So if you can turn around an episode within, a couple days, a week, and the guy is living vicariously through you, and that's not just a statement that I'm throwing out there. Like a blue cock or any passionate duck hunter, that's how come he or she is watching the show, because they want to live vicariously through you guys. And it's not so much a jealousy thing, it's just man, I wish I had the opportunity. And they always keep it in the back of the head, well, I can't do it this year, but maybe next year I'll be able to go on that trip to North Dakota, or I may be able to get to Saskatchewan, or I may be able to get to Mexico. It's all about creating the entertainment that then the person can go, well, that, hey, I can do that too.
Exactly.
I've got to do this in order to get to that.
Yeah, if we just showed hunts with outfitters who did all the work for us, and we were just, the person who's watching is looking at this, well, I've got to be rich in order to, have that experience. And granted, we are blessed and we get to experience things that most don't get to experience, but we try to do it in a tasteful way that resonates with the people that don't have that luxury, and show them that, they can do this if they put in the work. If you spend some time behind the windshield and you have a team of guys that will collectively work with you on it, you can, position yourself to have successful waterfowl hunts.
100%. Logan, buddy, anything to add?
And I don't think so. Ronnie did enough talking for the both of us there.
Oh, come on, say something. Don't make me feel like that.
I mean, we didn't really struggle that much. I mean, we had some days, right, but we didn't have per se a bad trip. So the episodes are going to be good. And yeah, we look forward to showing it to you guys. And we're kicking it off here in about literally a little over a month to go back to North Dakota and do it all over again. That's our first episode of the season every year. That one's showing right now on the Sportsman channel, as well as other platforms as well. And then, well, maybe we can get up and do some early season goose hunting with you sometime.
Yeah, buddy, would love it. Would be.
I would say this.
You want to come here for late goose?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you guys have good early goose, right? Too? Or am I wrong?
Sorry.
Yeah, we do have an early goose. Late goose, way better.
That's the March season.
Yeah.
Yeah, like February, March.
Okay, let's talk on that. I'm intrigued.
I will say that I'm not sure when this podcast episode is going to drop.
On Monday.
Okay, so
the 7th.
Okay, so that this week, as this episode has dropped, is the episode that is airing on Sportsman Channel Canada of us in Saskatchewan, where we had 5 back-to-back days of stellar hunts. In fact, I talk about in the episode that I don't remember, there's always one crap day or one struggle day. Mm-hmm. And even in Saskatchewan. And on this particular trip, they were just bangers every single day. So make sure, again, I got to bring it up here on Sportsman's Channel Canada is Eastern Standard Time listings here. Tuesday at 8:30 a.m., Wednesday at 2:30 p.m., Friday at 7:30 a.m., and Saturday at 12 o'clock noon. So it's a great episode. In fact, it's the episode that we showed at the premiere and everybody loved it. Amazing.
Philly, buddy, I've done a lot of talking tonight and not really giving you a chance to ask any questions. So, as per normal with this show, go for it, buddy. I'll turn it over to you because I've stolen enough air tonight.
Well, considering I'm running off about 3 hours sleep in the last 24 hours doing two shift work and turnaround, I'm running on fumes here, but Ronnie, Logan, it's an absolute honor to have you guys on the show. So I've been following you guys for a number of years now. I've dabbled into the bow hunter episodes here and there. Like not a big deer hunter, but I've watched a few, that's for sure. Waterfowl is the main focus, but you guys you run an awesome show. This the cinematography, the episodes, you guys are crushing it. And I pray to God we can make something work out and get you guys up here and just leave like working anything out of. You're coming up here to hunt with a couple boys for a few days. Just leave it at that. and hopefully be a smoother transition across the border.
Sure.
Yeah.
Leave the cameras at home.
Ontario tourism doesn't pay us anything, so we'll be all right.
There you go.
Yeah.
No A
Golden.
numbers required.
Well, in return, as honored as you are, it's an honor for us. Again, congratulations to you guys and your success with what you're doing with this podcast. We appreciate your friendship, and it's an honor to be on here to kind of spread our brand awareness through your network and through your platform. Keep doing what you're doing, keep grinding. And as I always like to say, if there's ever anything that we can do for you, consider it done. We'll do everything we can to help you out.
I know you will. You always do. Whenever I ask you a question, you always answer back, this is what I would do, or this is what I would use. And I'm like, perfect. Love it. Thank you. Logan, anything, buddy?
No, just stay in touch. And if you guys are open to it, let's figure something out. I'm getting on a hunt together.
Yeah.
We can pay you guys in beer, butter tarts, and maple syrup.
We like that.
Chips.
Yep. Those cigarettes are expensive up there, though, Ronnie.
and if you want chew, bring your chew with you, because chew is even worse than cigarettes. It's nasty. Wow. Crazy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 233 of the Union 0430 podcast. We are not experts. We will never pretend to be experts. We're just a bunch of friends that love sitting around talking duck hunting. Big love. Surround yourself with good people. Until the next episode.